ahead and get started if you don't mind. And we may have people dinging in and things, but we'll just kind of go ahead and in order of appearance, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what your business is. And then we'll turn the time over to John and Martha. And I know we all have lots of questions and we all love the book. But I'm Paula Williams, Aviation Business Consultants International. We help aviation companies sell more of their products and services.
John Williams, same thing, except I work for her. I do the cyber tech and the CPA kind of stuff.
Well, I'm John King. I have been struggling for 57 years to be an equal partner with Martha.
I completely understand that.
And I've been trying ever since.
And I'm Martha, and I'm having a great time with John. King Schools is a business built out of passion, and we both have a passion for aviation and a passion for teaching, and we like to share that with people. So that's what today's all about.
We're also passionate about being entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Yes.
It certainly comes through.
So, I'm Jeremy Cox. I'm Jet Values Jeremy. I appraise airplanes, but I especially have a passion for rare and unusual one-off and warbirds, that type of equipment. And I appraise everything from crop dusters to spacecraft.
That's a wide range.
Yeah. And it's honest. It's the truth. Honestly, enough said. In fact, I just got a telephone call before we started with this, and I got referred to actually appraise the crankshaft from Buddy Holly's Bonanza that he passed away in that crashed in Iowa or Nebraska or wherever it was.
Wow.
I'm waiting for a telephone call for that. Normally I do whole airplanes. I don't usually do artifacts, but I think a crankshaft from Buddy Holly's Bonanza is something I'm going to do.
Yeah, it certainly has historical significance.
It does.
A real provenance.
Hi, my name is Michael Duke. I had an FBO in Southern California, so we used the King Schools for a lot of our flight students. It was great to be down in California. I'm now in Salt Lake City, and I am the founder of a company called DBT Aero. DBT stands for double box tail. It's our patented wing configuration, and we believe that our ultra-efficient air transport technology will be the future of aviation, transforming regional air mobility, so saving people time, money, and being sustainable as well. So we think regional air mobility is just around the corner, different than urban air mobility, which is the domain of lots of eVTOLs. Ours is a fixed wing that has unbelievable passenger per seat mile metrics. So we think that it'll open up regional air mobility for the first time.
Good.
Good to see you, Michael.
Good to see you.
Good afternoon. I'm Gene Kyle. I have Great Circle Aircraft up here in Washington State. And aircraft broker and consultant. I focus on airplanes that are 26,000 pounds and up, and those that have been in production sometime in the last 20 years. So that I don't do the old stuff, so I don't have to call Jeremy.
Do you do spacecraft though?
No. I don't do things that splash down in the water.
Okay.
Gene, give us an example of a 26,000 pound aircraft.
So basically, you're looking at the Lear 60 and up.
Okay, thank you. I'm
going to defend myself now because one of the airplanes I've done so far in this year, in January of 2023, was a 737-800 special freighter. So there you go.
There you go. All right, we have Paul, Esteban, and Fred, it looks like.
Yes, hello. This is Aviation Flight School in Beverly, Mass. Hello, John and Martha. How are you?
Yes.
Oh my God, we spent a wonderful day with them back in November, and they were such gracious hosts, and they gave us a day of their lives, and with a wonderful gifting of the book Lift. And I've devoured that and enjoyed every minute. And we're integrate. It was just such a fun meeting, talking about entrepreneurial things and running a flight school and more ideas for the future. And we're really excited about that meeting we had and more opportunities to come. Thank you so much, guys.
We enjoyed it very much.
Fellow entrepreneurs through and through. Good to see you again.
Really enjoyed that.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And Stella, you're joining us from the beach?
I am.
Good to see you.
The Mexican Zihuatanejo beach.
The Wataneo, that was from the movie.
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption, exactly.
Yeah, they were going to go off to Zihuatanejo.
One of my favorite beaches in Mexico.
That's fantastic. Stella's a writer with us, and she also has her own business as well. So she's an entrepreneur. And it looks like Adila is joining. We'll give her. We'll do. And oh, there we go. Adila, are you on?
Yes, sir.
You're just in time for introductions. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Adila is joining us from Lahore. Is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
Lahore, Pakistan.
Good to see you. I'm glad you made it. And it's the middle of the night there. So, yeah.
Yes, but I was literally waiting for this event. So I'm here.
Adila is a aviation management graduate in Pakistan, and she does some digital marketing work for us and is very passionate about aviation. And so you got fans all over the world, John and Martha. So it's, great to see you.
Good to talk with you, Adila.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. It's great to meet you guys too. I hope I will learn a lot about entrepreneurship and aviation and marketing in this event today.
Well, you're in the right place. Great. So first of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for everything that you've done for our book club. John and Martha signed our books, which was kind of a logistical craziness. So I really appreciate you finding a way to get that done. I know, typically people just buy books from Amazon, but you guys had a box shipped to your location so you could sign them and send them to me. And then I sent them to our folks. And that was really cool.
The big job was yours, Paula, yours and John, because you had to then distribute the books to all of your book club participants.
Right. And unfortunately, Adila and Stella have the ebooks. We weren't able to get them signed ones because of the international situation. But yeah. Anyway,
ebooks are much lighter to carry around with you.
Yeah, they're a little harder to take notes in, though.
Not necessarily. I've got a little tool that I can notate all I want to.
Oh, great!
Cool.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. So I think, one of my favorite stories from the book is I love the fact that you guys create a product. You don't wait for the market to adapt to you. You actually have adapted your company and reinvented your company so many times over. You were at the leading edge of video marketing before it was cool, and like the RVSM product that you just decided to put together because of your experience and decided, there's a need in the market. Let's create a product for it. And you've continually invented new products or reinvented the company over time. And I love that RVSM story for that reason.
Yes, me too.
Well, the advantage of having a passion about what you're doing, which is obviously very much our case, in that we're teaching and doing online programs and so on about aviation, is that everything you do gives you the opportunity to think about it and think, are there other people that had the difficulty that we had in accomplishing A or B or C, and therefore might there be a market for it? We're not having to pay someone to go out and do market research because we're swimming in the market, if you will. And as you mentioned, Paula, we wanted to fly our old Falcon 10 around the world, and in the process, we needed to get RVSM, Reduced Vertical Separation Minima certification. And the only options at that time in the U.S. were a full day or 3-day course, depending on the flavor, at some place like Flight Safety. And so we studied, we read some other materials, created a course, took it ourselves, certified ourselves, sent it to the FAA, and the FAA said, looks good to us. And there we were. And when we got back from our around the world trip, we took that information and other things that we learned during the trip and created our online RVSM course. And that was actually, interestingly enough, the very first course that we had online.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So prior to that, it was all pre-recorded where you would send the recording out.
Right. We would send out either VHS tapes originally or later on CD-ROMs and then eventually DVDs. So this was, we had the internet in our sites, but we had not yet put any of our programs on the internet. And the RVSM course was short enough and with a somewhat different format that we could quickly and easily get it up into an online course. And that's what we did. And that's what launched the rest of our online working.
Within a few months, the online courses paid for our trip around the world.
That is the best part of that story.
That's what I like about entrepreneurship.
You bet.
Right. And, I love the fact, before we started the recording, if anyone is joining, we were talking about your love of capitalism and how it really ties together with innovation and with aviation in such a way that, America or the United States has always been kind of a hub of aviation because of that market force or, adapting to that market force. And that's really what entrepreneurship is all about.
Yeah, it's in my view, entrepreneurship is seeking out and taking care of other people's needs. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what it's all about.
The thing about seeking out and taking care of other people's needs is it's good for the person doing it, the entrepreneur, and it's good for the community. It keeps the entrepreneur focused on other people, their needs, not the entrepreneur's needs primarily, and it does good things for people and good things for the community. So it's a win-win for everybody in our view.
In aviation, we've been fortunate to know a lot of people have done very well, including being billionaires. And the thing we learn is that they're problem solvers. That's what they do for a living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're interested in other people and other people's problems. Exactly. As opposed to just trying to solve their own. And, it's so interesting when I talk to business owners that I can tell usually within the first few consultations, is this someone who is interested in other people, or do they just want to focus on their own self? And if that's the case, they're probably not going to be successful, no matter how innovative or, how good their products are. They have to be interested in other people also.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that the entrepreneur is only going by what other people say they want or need, because a lot of times, who knew that they needed an iPhone or an iPad before they were available? But people with vision can visualize because they know their audience, if you will, their market. They can visualize what other people would benefit from and be likely to adapt quickly to, because they themselves have a passion about it and they want to find out, and that lets them have imagination about what would make other people's lives better.
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, I don't want to hog the whole session because I know everybody has great questions for John and Martha. So who wants to go next? Please. I know this is awkward on Zoom because everybody wants to speak at the same time or nobody speaks at all. So
this is Anna Marie Bonacore with In-Flight USA magazine. We get a lot of people, because we deal with a lot of writers, who say, how do you write a book? And a lot of people just don't know where to begin when it comes to writing a book. And it seems like book writing has become a very important part of entrepreneurship in the world of self-publishing. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience of writing a book and what advice you would give to aspiring authors?
Well, the first experience I can observe from when writing a book is it's a lot of hard work. And that's self-serving, but it is. It's just, it's a lot of trouble.
No matter how you do it, or no matter how much help you have in doing it, if it's truly a book in your own voice, it is an enormous amount of work.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, and Martha and I have written a lot of articles, and how do you write an article? To me, the answer is set yourself aside. You're going to do 1,500 words a day. Sit down and start writing, and then you make a first draft, and then you edit it and refine it and get it better. But the answer to it is start writing.
Mm-hmm.
When we wrote a column for Flying Magazine for a number of years, and one of the things that we frequently found is that we would start writing, and we, as John says, we'd get the first draft down. At least you have words on paper to talk about and think about. And once we got that, we would go back, and we would very frequently find that we had buried the lead, as it's often called, that the really interesting, eye-catching part of the article would be somewhere in the middle or maybe at the very end. And we would take that and pull it up to the front and rework the rest of the article to support it. But that's, in a sense, a part of what happened as far as our book is concerned, is that we got a lot of it done, and then we went back and pulled a bunch of stuff up into basically chapter 1 to talk about how we felt about entrepreneurship and what our interests were and our passions and why we wanted to write the book.
I think we live at a time and place of opportunity where you can make a living and even start a business, and you have the freedom to do it, and a marketplace that there's something to sell somebody to. I think we have a special opportunity right now.
I agree, and
especially with book writing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, that's great. John mentioned when he started reading the book, my husband, John, that John, mentioned when he started reading the book that it really, really pulled him in. And I can tell that first chapter was so passionate. I mean, it was not a first draft. That was something that you'd gone over and over and put a lot of energy and emotion into, because it really does grab you. I mean, I was not expecting this to be a page turner. I was expecting this to be kind of a textbook. And I know you guys are great teachers, but I'm
glad it was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's that first chapter is about our personal philosophy of how you interact with people and the respect that's due from you to them, and of course back also, but just and how entrepreneurship can improve your life, but also the lives of everyone you touch, and the value of that to the community.
Absolutely. And I think I've already told you, I felt that, I began as a student pilot in my late 30s, so I was way, way, way behind. And your courses really made me feel comfortable very quickly. And, nothing else could do that. I was working with teenage CFIs and, they're great, but not as confidence inspiring as your materials were. And I really felt like I could do it because of that. So I can see that you felt that need, and I could feel your reassurance through the material. So I think that attitude and that passion really comes through in all of your work, including your book.
What a privilege to have played a role in your flying life.
Wow.
It's a great privilege, yes.
That comfort, I think, came in large part because before we put the programs on video, we started out teaching live 2-day weekend ground schools all around the country, mostly in the west of the Mississippi, but around the country. And we were doing a live class every weekend for 10 years. And we got very comfortable that we knew and understood the people, the psyche and the needs of the people that came to the classes. And a lot of them, they'd take the private, they'd come back for the commercial, again, all live classes, come back for the instrument. And so we got to know them and what their concerns and worries were and how they felt about it. And it matters a lot when you're learning to fly. It's about the most important thing going on in your life at the time. And we felt very privileged, as John said, to be able to have a share in their lives when they were doing something that mattered so much to them.
Right. That really shows. Who else has a question for John and Martha?
Well, I have a kind of a statement, and that is that back in the 70s, when I was going through the process of getting my civilian certificates, I came out of the Army from flying helicopters. And when I go to ground school, it was purely to pass the test. And then, and I'll never forget, I did the instrument test. And my goal, my challenge was to come out of that test environment with 3 of the questions. You had to memorize them because you couldn't have pencil and paper with you. And then you take the questions back to the people who just taught the ground school and you tell them what they were so they knew what to teach next weekend. Yeah. And that's exactly how it worked. And of course, the only reason I passed that stuff was because I'd already had the exposure when I was in the Army flying helicopters. And I thought many, many times, I should have done something that actually was educational, not just on how to pass a test.
Right.
And that's in growing up over the years and seeing you in Flying Magazine and other places, thought that's probably where I should have gone. Mm-hmm. But it's that's all hindsight now, of course. But
well, part of it is that the FAA had developed an adversarial position. The FAA testing service had developed an adversarial relationship with pilots, and they wanted to see a bell-shaped curve. They wanted to have some on the outer end, so they wanted to be able to distinguish between someone's smart and someone's really smart, and the bell-shaped curve would allow them to do that. But what was wrong with that is the questions became trivial. They would ask they're trivial and obscure. And during that era, we were teaching ground schools, and we realized that the things that they were asking about weren't things that cause people to have accidents. That they were asking trivial things, and those trivial things weren't causing accidents.
Exactly.
So there became a reform on part of the airman testing, so that that they were asking more substantial, more important things rather than trivial things. They were trying to trip up people, and they've gotten over that some.
And that's really quite interesting, because I don't know when that occurred, but I remember in a biennial flight review that we have an instructor up here, a great guy, his name is Long. I learned more in a biennial flight review than I did in my ground school classes, because he was teaching education instead of just trying to teach me how to pass a test.
Right.
And I always appreciated that.
Well, for a while, when GPS came in, the FAA for a while in the instrument test was asking people how many satellites there were in the GPS system.
Whoa.
You didn't care. All it had to be is enough. You know?
Right. And enough wasn't one of the answers they offered you. And the point of that, the thing that disturbed us so about that was, first of all, there's nothing that you as a pilot can do about it. Secondly, there's no easy place to look up and see how many satellites are active and in good working order right now. It can be looked up, but it's not easy. And you don't need the whole constellation of satellites in order to have, even back in the beginning of GPS flying, in order to have the information that you needed to safely make your trip. And so they were asking obscure, basically irrelevant information that the pilot had had actually zero control over, and made no difference at all to the risk management of a flight, in order to get that bell-shaped curve and force some certain number of people to flunk the test in order to, quote, validate their questions.
There has been a reform
Yes.
in testing called the Airman Certification Standards. And for the first time, they have standards for knowledge that the FAA can ask.
Which they never had before.
They can't make up stuff. And then and then the second thing that they're asking pilots to do when they become pilots is to be able to identify and mitigate risks.
Yes.
Previously, they had all been physical skills. They were saying, can you land an airplane? How do you do this? Now they're saying, can you identify and mitigate risks so that accidents don't happen?
Yeah.
So now we're asking pilots to be able to pick a situation and say, well, what are the risks in that situation? And how would you improve those risks? And so I think we get pilots who get a better result as a result of that.
Right.
And they're supposed to only ask questions about the body of aviation knowledge that a pilot would have control over, and that would be relevant to risk management, to better, safer flying.
They're not asking you to memorize stupid stuff and being able to come up with trivia.
Allegedly. There's still some holdover questions that are not completely scrubbed, but they are working on it.
That's a good thing. And probably partly because of you. I mean, I always got the feeling when working with you that it was about risk management. It was about safe flying. It was not about passing the test. Whereas, other test prep materials that I've used are about passing the test.
I made dozens of trips to Washington, D.C. To attend a meeting of the Airman Certification Standards. So I may have played a hand.
I'll never tell you if you did, but I'm so glad that you were there.
Well, and John was before the Airman Certification Standards Working Group was established, which was about 12 years ago now, I think. John was very vocal at the Meet the Administrator meetings at Sun and Fun and AirVenture and so on, standing up and asking questions repeatedly about this issue of stupid questions that give you this bell-shaped curve, but don't improve the risk management of pilots. And eventually, you hit receptive ears, and some stuff happened.
Yeah. We were sadly teaching people trivia, and rather than helping them identify and mitigate risks.
And that hurts you personally when you realize that you're having to cover trivia as part of educating pilots, and people are going out and killing themselves or getting killed by things that the FAA is not even talking about.
Yeah, that's crazy. And
We're doing better.
I'm a little shocked that was 10 years ago. I would have expected it to be 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's very recent. Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
That's still the Mexican driver's license test scenario today.
I don't know that. What's the Mexican driver's license test?
Well, it's got questions on it that have absolutely nothing to do with driving. It's like, what does one whistle mean? What does two whistles mean? What? How many satellites monitor drivers in Mexico City? I mean, you're like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't care. Do I know what this sign means? Do I know where to turn?
Right. They're just trying to reduce the number of drivers.
Oh no, you only have to score 60%. And like I said, I would say at least 75% of the questions have nothing to do with driving. And there is no physical driving test. You don't even have to show, hey, I can parallel park this car, or I can drive in one lane. No, you don't have to do any of that.
Wow.
It's a written test, and that's it. And the questions are crazy.
Right.
That's why the drivers are crazy.
Yeah. That kind of brings back around. And I know this is a point that's near and dear to Jeremy's heart, and probably Jean's, and certainly John's and mine as well. And that is balancing advocacy with entrepreneurship. And I know you guys do a fantastic job of that, because you're involved with the FAA in a lot of causes and things like that. So you seem to do it really, really well. And you never really run afoul of anything in terms of taking a position on a cause and it not hurting your business. I mean, it never loses you customers if you're advocating for them.
Well, it has that opportunity. I mean, if you do something that advocates something that your customers don't want, it has the opportunity for you.
But I think the primary thing is that you have to take reasonable stands, and you have to be very respectful in how you do it and when you do it. And so the manner of doing it is very important, particularly if you're taking a stand that might be somewhat controversial. It goes back to the issue of respect for everybody all the way around, and good communications. You need to make sure that you're communicating clearly what you're trying to say, and particularly why you think it's important to say that.
Right.
Well, there's 309 pages in your book, How to Start, Run, and Grow Your Own Successful Business. You can see all the turned corners on my page. And I've got 13 things that I took away from your book. I just want to run through them in like 2 minutes. And that is, don't ever depend on anyone else for your security. Page 17. Darn right. Absolutely. I love that. There's the Ayn Rand thing coming in there. Entrepreneurs need to be committed students who never stop learning. Page 19. Darn right. Absolutely.
Didn't take us long to get into that, did it?
I like the idea of including the copyright symbol on your materials. I mean, I don't know if I can do that with my appraisal reports, but I like it. That's page 43.
Yeah.
I love this. Consider the competition, page 50. You know, I always help a competitor if I can. It's just like the law of reciprocity, page 67. I'm open source, and it's the best way to be. Why be for confrontational and try and war with people? Because the more times you spread it around and help people, they come back and they end up sending you business. That's the way the world works. So I wish, this is my comment, I wish the upsell would go away, page 68. I personally do the downsell, because a lot of people will push their most expensive service or product. I won't do that. I'd rather push the lowest price and maybe work my way to there if it looks like my service isn't going to cover their needs. But it's better to downplay than upplay. And this, SWOT. I like the SWOT: strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Page 107. The 80-20 rule it's a good analysis to perform every month. Whoever you are, what kind of business you got, do the 80-20 rule and apply it and analyze it. Do you want me to shut up? I've only got a few more. I mean,
carry on. You're doing great.
I mean, I love this book. John and Martha, I love this book. I told you that last week.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Honestly. So I love this. This is absolutely spot on. Over the years, this is your words. Over the years, we have developed a love of accumulating cash. Darn right. Page 117. You know, I pay my vendors and my Amex bill before it's due. And sometimes I pay my Amex bill 3 times a month. I want to make sure that what I've got in the bank is what I got in the bank.
Yeah.
I don't owe anyone anything. And so, amen to accumulating cash. Absolutely.
Some people love spending money.
Oh yeah.
And some people, I think, a lot of entrepreneurs are don't like spending money, and we don't like spending money.
That's why we're called conservatives, right?
I'd rather have cash in the bank than a fancy car.
But Jeremy's never been late paying his bill.
Never. No, I'll pay it up front. Let's see. So not extending credit is excellent. 119, page 119. It stresses me out when somebody doesn't pay their bill and I have to get on them. It stresses me out. It's like, why the heck can't you just pay your bill as you do the engagement letter? Come on. Customers have acquired, and I love this, customers have acquired something more valuable than their money. Page 135. And that's the whole concept all throughout life. You underpromise and overdeliver. I mean, it's simple. It's not brain surgery, any of this.
These are great observations. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, but thank you for writing it. I mean, I love this book. So I got 2 more and I'm done. I probably went on 3. But,
that's right. Keep on talking.
So, and this one is utterly brilliant. And I think we all have a problem with this because of email and text and everything else. But I love this. Over communicating is a way to avoid miscommunication by omission. Page, I don't know, 160, 154. I don't know. I missed out one of the letters, but it's brilliant because, you make the assumption that somebody understood you. They know what it is you're offering and their expectations are, and you don't communicate and you don't bounce back and forth multiple times. And then when you come to the end of it, it's like, well, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
So don't be dumb. I think over communication is utterly brilliant.
It helps.
Yeah. Everyone, and I like this, everyone should be better off because of our relationship. Page 1.
Well, you heard us say that already. And we're talking about not just the customers, but your fellow workers and your vendors, everyone that you come in contact with should end up being better off because of the relationship. And if that happens, automatically you yourself will end up being better off.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Fantastic. I mean,
I was going to say, if you need somebody to read your book for the audio version, I think Jeremy just.
Jeremy, thank you very much. That's wonderful, wonderful comments.
So last one, and this is something I've never, ever thought about, and it's fresh material to me. Page 201, you said, add quotes. They are pictures painted with words. And that really makes me pause and think, wow, interesting. So anyway, I'm done. Sorry.
That's great stuff.
Thank you
very
very much,
I'm glad you read the book.
Absolutely.
Obviously you have.
And I have to tell you that Jeremy asked me to stop sending him books because he's got too many. But he did want this one. This is the one that he's read. So that's amazing.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions for John and Martha?
Javier?
Oh,
Hello there. I just want to say, as you know, we're operating and growing and innovating with a flight school out here on the East Coast. And it was a lot of fun, and it remains a lot of fun. We pile through all of the leadership books and the business books and business development books and all of that. And it was so much fun to stumble on, well, not stumble on, it was offered to us by John and Martha, but to be able to read and digest this book about entrepreneurship, centered on and focused on an aviation business. It's been really tremendously helpful. And it's a higher quality than the other. There's a lot of junk out there, as you know. I'm sure you've read them too. And there's a lot of good stuff out there too. But it's been fun to read that, and a lot of fun, especially having had the opportunity to shake hands. It's a great book, and I love the TNT. I love all of it.
So you got TNT memorized, huh?
That's right. Heck yeah. Be trustworthy, focus on the needs of others, and enjoy the triumph.
You've got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it really is exceptional. I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's just wrap it up with a last word from everybody. And if you weren't able to introduce yourself at the beginning, feel free at the end, and just last phrase from everybody. Paula Williams, ABCI. I am so grateful to John and Martha for doing what you've been doing for so many years. Everything that comes out of King Schools is a top-notch product, and the book is going to be one of my favorites for a really long time. So
I love the way you talk, Paula.
John Williams, I work for her. I just wish that when I grew up, you guys weren't around doing it. And I had a great flight instructor, but when it came to getting ready for the written test, he threw me a map and he says, know this stuff.
Memorize the manual.
Yeah,
right. Well, that's what we ran into when we were learning to fly. This was in 1969.
Mm-hmm.
And they handed us a stack of books and said, learn everything in here.
Yeah.
And that's intimidating. Yeah. And it was a little while before we got started in this business, but we remembered that feeling and the difficulty of getting it, and the knowledge that we needed for the knowledge test. They called it, of course, the written back then, because it really was a written. And these
guys when they were young.
Flight instructors never did they wanted to spend their time in an airplane, teaching in the airplane. They never wanted to have to worry about, well, what did the FAA change today on the regulations or procedures or whatever. And so we could see that need very strongly. And when we first started, we felt like we were just going to own a very nice job that we had a passion about. And there was, believe me, there was no 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan, whatever it might be. We just got there.
All we were trying to do is have fun. And we went broke in our first business. And we said, that hurt. Let's not do that anymore. This time, let's do something for the fun of it. So we started teaching ground schools for the fun of it. And the plan was to do it until a serious business came along. Well, it's been 47 years. We still have not found a serious business.
Good for you guys.
And that's what we hope it is for everyone who gets into entrepreneurship, that it's enough of a passion that the destination, it doesn't really matter. It's the journey, and that the journey is fun and rewarding, and they get great friendships and relationships out of it, and feel a sense of both challenge and accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
Go ahead, Adila.
I have a question. Like, I know you all guys are like from have a background of flying, but I don't have. So I have a background of a degree in aviation management, which is basically management and marketing and finance and stuff like that. So I just want to ask that, like, the courses I was taught were like accounting and marketing, management and air traffic control, etc. But they were not like trainings. They were just what can you say? They were just material. They were just literature. So after doing this like 4 whole year degree, when I go to the industry, so I was not industry ready. I was like, I was blank. Look, if there were some operations, they required certificates. Like you have to like spend some more time, some more months in training, and you have to get the certificate. And the other, like the management portions of the aviation industry, we were not industry ready. So I just want to ask that what we can do to like close this gap of students studying like 4-year degree in aviation management and still they are not industry ready. So like what can we do to make them industry ready? Like I know they cannot be 100% ready, but like somewhat ready.
I think the answer is we have someone at King Schools who could answer that question, and he has worked for universities and started universities, and he would be, I'm thinking Brian Huff. Yeah. His name is Brian, Brian Hough, and he is trying to help people have fun in business and aviation. So he would be the best. If you want to call King Schools and ask for Brian Huff,
or just email custserve@kingschools.com and ask specifically for Brian Huff, because with the time change and so on, you're in Pakistan, right?
Right.
That would be difficult.
Yes. Do you have access to email in the United States?
Yes, I can.
She absolutely does.
Yeah. Yes, I would think the best way for you to get a good, thorough answer to that, we can give you a light answer, but not a good, thorough answer. Mm-hmm. And Brian can give her a really, really thoughtful answer.
Right. If that education program was as high quality, I think everyone would be much better off. So, right.
So Brian is working on that. So it's what he does right now. So he would be good to talk with. Right.
Famous last words, anyone?
Yeah, I have a quick question for you, actually, and obviously it could take a long answer, which we could do, but in today's world of this pilot shortage that we're facing, Are you seeing more young people come into the business, more young people wanting to learn how to fly? I know we've got Javier on the line and Anna Marie as well. But what do you see as the people coming up, and is it occurring?
Yes, we see more people wanting to take aviation training than we ever have before. And yes.
Career-oriented pilots are hugely these days outnumbering, I say recreational pilots, not because they're going for the recreational certificate, but because they want to use it just for fun flying. Career-oriented pilots basically headed for the airlines or some business aviation flying position are hugely outnumbering the pilots who want to use it just for their own fun and enjoyment.
As you probably know, the airline unions would like to say there's no shortage of pilots, but there's I will say there's a big demand for pilots and a big opportunity for pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Did that answer your question?
Well, it does actually, and we're seeing different things out there. Cheryl, and forgive me, I cannot remember her last name off the top of my head, that does the pilot hiring for corporate flight departments. She's hopeful that we're going to break even in 6 to 8 years. And when you read stuff that comes from the other side of the industry, the airline industry, they're saying 2032, 2041.
Oof.
Yeah, that's what I said. And so it is delightful to hear that two things are happening. Number one is the enrollment's coming up, and number two, the destination is not just a private pilot's license.
No, it's not.
No.
There are a lot of people being hired, and a lot of people. There's a lot of demand on both demand and supply. Right.
There are a number of flight schools that are partnered with airlines, are basically airline academy. They may or may not be directly owned. Some of them are owned by airlines, and many others are contracted that are coming up. And a lot of flight schools heavily focused on this.
How do you guys at Avier feel about that?
Good question.
Now, as far as the well, to the question, well, most directly to the question of the proportion of professional pilot candidates, I'd say agree with John and Martha. Right now, far more than even 5 years ago, it's the preponderance of our customers are going full professional pilot.
Yeah.
And what's interesting though is that I wanted to upgrade. I wanted to get
multi-engine. Yeah.
A multi-engine. I mean, an add-on. That I'm commercial instrument, helicopter, and fixed wing rated. I wanted a multi-engine add-on fixed wing. They won't do it unless I want to go to the airlines.
Seriously?
They told me no. They told me no. I've been to 2 flight schools. They told me no.
Because they wanted to hire people who are going to take more stuff.
Yeah, they want people that are going to go up and have an airline career as their. They don't want to teach the one-offs like me.
Right.
Yeah, right.
We see the same thing.
They want it to be part of a program.
They have a career path program, and as you say, John, they don't want one-offs that disrupt the schedule. Because it takes away an instructor, takes away an aircraft, and it messes up the flow of the students through there headed for the airlines.
Right. Doesn't.
Yeah, I told them, I said, you know what? It wouldn't even matter if you could tell me when to come in. I'd come in at midnight. I don't care. I just wanted the upgrade. But
they've got an assembly line going, and they don't want to.
But they wouldn't do it.
Well, and that's an interesting point. I spent 9 years with flight safety, and one of the biggest problems flight safety ever had was to get a cockpit to build a simulator, because they'd have to disrupt the entire building process to build one extra cockpit. And over to Jeremy's side of the business, if they could find a crashed airplane and take the cockpit, they were really happy to buy it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And not that you're in the crash cockpit business, Jeremy, but yeah. But yeah, no, it's so true.
Mhm. Anyone
So-
else? Famous last words?
I'll jump in,
Oh,
not a last
yeah.
word question. Certainly, the part of the industry that I'm in, which is the future of aviation, all of the ETOL folks are talking about autonomous aircraft. We are not looking at autonomous aircraft. Our focus is piloted, but eventually autonomy may happen. As I've spoken to Michael Huerta and other folks like that, former FAA administrator, he's given me his opinion and said, if I were still administrator, you wouldn't see autonomy or pilotless cockpit for many, many years to come. A lot of different thoughts on that. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the future of taking pilots out of the cockpit.
Well, when people are talking about urban air mobility and a lot of these things that are supposed to happen in the future, I'm skeptical. I just think they have a lot of precedent to make, and so
There's a lot of complex issues that they have to overcome if they're going to go completely pilotless. And eventually they'll probably overcome it, but we don't see that it's soon. And there's going to be a lot of resistance from both pilots and passengers as far as passenger aircraft are concerned. And
no one wants to participate in a pilotless aircraft.
Right. That's correct. Who wants to be the test articles on that? It's going to be a very interesting sales job to create the demand for that.
Yeah.
That sales job's going to have to start at the bottom, though. I mean, I've talked to a gent that had very good friends with a test pilot for Airbus. And the Airbus is all computerized, and it will you can program it where you get in it, no pilots, push the button, it'll back out of the gate, taxi over, take off, en route, land, and taxi to the gate and discharge people with no pilot. It's designed to do that.
Right.
But the test pilot said it scared him. He wasn't going to try it.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
the question,
Yes.
of course, that everybody asks in that kind of situation is, that's fine, but is the AI, the artificial intelligence, good enough to handle things when things go wrong?
Exactly.
Eventually, probably so. Right now,
Yes, I would like to.
Do that again.
I would like to add on this.
Garmin's got the AI and what is it? The Vision Jet and or one of those, and also one of the Piper airplanes.
The
to
Mirage.
go home,
Yeah.
or home
Home
safe.
safe, they call it,
Yeah.
where to land itself if it has a
Mhm.
problem.
It talks to ATC and everything. It knows all the time where the nearest airport is. They can put it down.
Adela had another question, I think. Is that right?
No, I just want to add on this discussion that I studied research on this topic about acceptance of passengers about autonomous aircraft.
Yeah.
So it was like people, the new generation was like somewhat okayish with the being the aircraft being autonomous, but there was little trust issues, as you know, like I have trust issues with the pilot when I'm flying. So without a pilot, I cannot.
And Adela, you were in college in the 2000s, is that right? Or what's the time frame?
I graduated in 2020.
Okay, so very recent. Right, that's
Yes.
good to know.
And there was also this point that this transition will be like one pilot and then autonomous. So this the research was like that first people will go to one pilot, there will be no first officer, only one pilot, and then maybe autonomous. But right now I think people are not
No. Yeah.
ready for this.
Okay. All right.
Some adventurous souls maybe are ready, but not everyone. Not
Right.
I am not ready.
Understood.
You know, on autonomous airplanes, I'm a member of the de Havilland Museum over in the UK, and the first drone was a DH-82 de Havilland Tiger Moth that they used a telephone console to actually dial in the commands. They launched them off aircraft carriers and used them for target practice.
Oh my goodness.
So I understand that the 787, the 777X, and the A350 have the ability to be remote piloted. I don't know about autonomy, but so I'm all for autonomous flight, but I don't want the telephone companies or switch to be involved like they were the first. Because artificial intelligence in the telephone industry sucks. We all know that. Every time you dial into a big company and you're trying to talk or achieve somebody, it fails every time. So as long as they don't have autonomous equipment from the telephone industry, I'm good with it.
I think I'm with John and Martha on this one. At the end of the day, there's a railroad system north of them up in the Bay Area that started out their trains without a conductor on board or somebody riding up front. And BART was on the direction of failure because nobody was driving the train and people wouldn't ride it. So then they put a person in a chair up front that virtually has nothing to do. But at least there's a person.
Hey, that's the dog in the cockpit, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You say, what's the dog for? Well, the dog's there to bite the pilot if he touches the controls. And you say, well, what's the pilot there for? Well, the pilot's there to feed the dog.
Well, trains have been that way forever. Somebody's got to hit the switch so they know you're alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
Michael Huerta's comment was the FAA is fine with automation, but not with autonomy.
I like that.
It's okay to automate various processes, but not to remove the pilot. They still want that decision maker.
Although they're trying to remove one of the pilots now in airliners.
Yeah, that's what Adila was saying.
It's a cost issue. Yeah. So it's all about cost, reducing cost, and there'll be a much larger cost when you have a lawsuit from the first pilotless aircraft that goes down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we know for sure is that it is going to change. And, one thing that I really admire about the book is basically that it covers so much change. You guys have gone through so much in the industry, and you've seen so many things happen, and you've rolled with the punches. So I think that's really a great example for the rest of us about some of the punches we're going to have to roll with.
Yeah. Well, change presents opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely does. And thank you for joining us today. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out. I know you're super busy with the book tour and the whole 9 yards and everything that you're doing with the schools and things. But I'm so flattered you were able to come. That was nice.
Well, Paula and John, thank you very,
Thank you very much for having us on, and we're glad to meet everyone else. And we enjoyed you're presenting the books to your book club, and just we're delighted to have participated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful afternoon.
Bye.